Beautiful day. Beautiful day. Some smoke out here. Somebody's been burning something. We had a little bit of rain on Saturday, but there has been a burning ban because we've had a drought. Almost no rain for a couple of months. So, in fact, I've got leaves over there to burn, but they're wet now. I need to come out here in my yard and paint a little bit. So anyway, what I thought I would do on this mine shot is maybe go inside and take another follow-up look at the Mission Gold paints. Just a little Q&A. Several of you commented on a couple things that I just wanted to clear up or talk about briefly. So I'm going to look around a little more on this beautiful day, and then we'll go into the studio and take one quick other look at Mission Gold watercolors. Well, one of the first issues, and this I've seen come up before, is lightfastness, or using low-grade dyes or low-grade pigments. Apparently, when they first came out with Mission Gold in 2012, there were some complaints about lightfastness, and then Magellan went back, I guess, and reformulated the line. So since then, and most comments you find online do not have a big problem with lightfastness. I have not tested them myself, so I can't really give you a scientific answer there. But they seem to be pretty good and not getting a lot of complaints there. Now, the other question that keeps coming up is, you know, they muddy easier and they don't glaze or layer well. I have not found that to be true. Now let me just show you. Okay, so here's a test that I did just today. Glazing. These were the bottom colors. Now I had trouble with the blue, but I'll explain that in a minute. And I glazed a variety of colors over there. No visible muddying. I even glazed a couple of browns, a red brown and sort of a Van Dyke brown. And while you do get sort of the neutralizing browning effect from the glaze, I don't see any muddying. Now just keep in mind, muddying can be due to several factors. It can be due to how much pigment is in your paint. It can be due to which two colors that you combine or glaze. Let me just tell you the problem I had. This is cobalt blue, and it's the one color out of the whole line I had trouble with. I think it was a defective tube in the mix. I got more binder in there than I got pigment, and it didn't come out of the tube right. I even went in with a stick and tried to stir it up inside the tube, and after this dried, it actually repelled paint until it got wet enough to loosen it up. So it didn't work well. It didn't act like paint is supposed to act. That was the only tube out of the set that I had that problem with. And I could tell when I squeezed it out on the palette that there was something wrong with the mix. But aside from that, the rest of the set seemed to be fine. And you can see here, yellow and purple usually will muddy, but you just have a nice clean brown on a glaze, that is. A glaze has got to be glazed transparently over a dry color. All right. I have not found there to be a problem with layering or glazing these colors so far. Also keep in mind your paper, very important, because the wrong paper will loosen up too quickly, and instead of glazing, you'll end up mixing. And mixing is different than glazing, okay? This was a piece I did over the weekend. This is just in my perfect sketchbook, Fabriano paper. That was an pen and ink drawing I did on location. Down a little ways from us, there's a plantation called Walnut Grove Plantation. But this is all color. When I got it back to the studio, this is all colored with Mission Gold. My Mission Gold palette right there. And you can see I've been doing a lot of testing. Just a very simple little painting, but I had a very good time coloring that in. after I got back, and no issues. Third thing, and this is probably most commented on, is the flow. Several people have said that the flow doesn't work right, or they don't flow into each other as well. Again, I have not really experienced this, but given the right circumstances and with all the paints that I could tell on the palette, I didn't have trouble with flow. Let's just do a little demonstration. All right, this is Fabriano paper. It's a scrap I just happen to have. But keep in mind that flow has to do with more than just brand. It has to do with paper, number one. It has to do with the amount of water that's on the paper. In other words, how wet it is. And it has to do with the amount of pigment. In other words, you can a very watery wash will move differently than a drier, highly pigmented wash. So those are all factors. Seems to act fairly normal. And you know, some of this is preference. If you say, well, I do notice a difference between my color and M. Graham, fine. You know, there are slight differences in watercolor. I'm going to throw in another color here. Now that's heavy pigment. Heavy pigment with less water will move slower. They flow into each other, I think, as well as any other watercolor. Right now I'm reaching for some M. Graham. I'm going to throw a little M. Graham on this. See if we notice a difference. No difference whatsoever. I'll even come out here where there's no mission gold. Side-by-side comparison with M. Graham, I am not getting any difference at all. Okay, here's some M. Graham Ultramarine. Let's go back and add some water. They mingle and flow into each other nicely. Anyway, that's another mine shot, guys. Hope that was a little help clarifying. And I really like the Mission Gold still. I'm going to keep using it, and I'll keep reporting on it. Thanks. We'll see you next time.